If you're a senior or retiree who files taxes every year, you need to hear this carefully. There is a new IRS filing rule that just took effect. And while it doesn't mean you suddenly owe more taxes, it does change how returns are filed, verified, and processed. For many retirees, this rule will feel confusing at first. Some may even think they did something wrong. Others may experience delays, rejections, or extra verification requests they've never seen before. So today we're going to explain this calmly, clearly, and step by step. No panic, no legal language, just what changed, who it affects, and what seniors should do now. Let's start with one very important point. This new rule does not mean seniors are being targeted. It does not mean retirement income is suddenly illegal, and it does not automatically increase your taxes. What it does change is how the IRS confirms identity and filing information, especially for people who file electronically or use third parties. Now let's talk about why the IRS made this change in the first place. Over the past few years, tax fraud has increased sharply. Not just scams, but stolen identities, fake refunds, and fraudulent filings made in other people's names. Seniors are especially affected by this, so the IRS tightened certain filing procedures. The goal is protection, but when rules change quickly, confusion follows. Now let's talk about what people mean when they say urgent. This rule is already in effect. That means it applies to returns being filed now, not next year. If you already filed earlier and everything went through, you may not notice anything. But if you're filing soon or helping someone file, this matters. Now let's talk about what actually changed. The IRS now requires additional verification steps in certain situations, not for everyone, but more often than before. These steps can include extra identity confirmation, tighter matching of personal information, stricter review of electronic filings, and closer scrutiny of third-party preparers. For seniors, this is most noticeable when filing electronically for the first time, using a new tax preparer, filing after a long gap, or having changes in personal information. Again, this doesn't mean something is wrong. It means the IRS is slowing things down to make sure the right person is filing the return. Now let's talk about a common misconception. Many retirees think filing taxes is simple because their income is simple. Social Security, a pension, maybe retirement account withdrawals. But even simple returns still go through automated systems, and those systems now require cleaner, more consistent information. That's where problems arise. Now let's talk about the biggest surprise seniors are reporting. Returns being delayed or flagged, even when nothing looks wrong. This is happening because the IRS is asking for verification before processing. In the past, verification often happened after. That order has changed. Now let's pause for a moment. If you hear flagged and feel nervous, don't. Flagged does not mean audited. Flagged does not mean investigated. It means reviewed. That distinction matters. Now let's talk about identity verification specifically. Some seniors are being asked to confirm their identity through additional steps. This can feel frustrating, especially for people who have filed for decades without issues. But this step exists to prevent someone else from filing in your name. Now let's talk about something else that's changing. Returns that don't perfectly match IRS records are more likely to be paused. This includes name variations, address changes, filing status changes, or missing information. Small things that used to slide through are now checked more closely. Now let's slow this down again. This rule does not mean your return will be rejected. It means accuracy matters more than ever. Now let's talk about how this affects retirees differently than younger filers. Many seniors file later in the season, use the same information year after year, or rely on others to help them file. When anything changes, even slightly, the IRS notices. That's why seniors are hearing about this more than others. Now let's continue, because we still need to talk about what seniors should do before filing, what to do if a return is delayed, and how to avoid common mistakes under this new rule. Now let's talk about what seniors and retirees should do before filing, because preparation matters more under this new IRS rule. The first thing is accuracy. That sounds obvious, but even small inconsistencies can slow things down now. Your name should match exactly what the IRS has on record. That includes middle initials, hyphens, and suffixes like junior or senior. If you've ever changed your name, make sure you're using the version the IRS recognizes. Next, check your address. If you moved recently, confirm that the address on your tax return matches what the IRS has on file. Address mismatches are one of the most common reasons returns get delayed under the new verification process. Now let's talk about filing status. Life changes affect filing status more than people realize. Marriage, divorce, or the loss of a spouse can all change how the IRS processes a return. If your filing status changed recently, expect additional review. That doesn't mean trouble. It just means the IRS wants to confirm the change is legitimate. Now let's talk about income documents. Make sure you have all your tax forms before filing. That includes Social Security benefit statements, pension forms, retirement account distribution forms, interest or investment income forms. Missing one form can cause a mismatch. And mismatches are now more likely to pause processing. Now let's talk about electronic filing. Electronic filing is still the fastest option, but it also means information is checked instantly. Errors that once took weeks to notice are now flagged immediately. That's good for security, but it means mistakes are less forgiving. Now let's talk about tax preparers. Many seniors use professional help. That's fine, but under the new rule, returns prepared by third parties are reviewed more closely. This is not because seniors are untrustworthy. It's because fraudulent returns are often filed using stolen identities through preparers. So the IRS is watching for patterns. This means choosing a reputable preparer matters more than ever. Now let's talk about something else seniors should avoid: filing twice. Some people file again if they think something went wrong. Under the new system, duplicate filings can cause more delays. If you filed once, wait. Check status. Don't refile unless instructed. Now let's talk about what happens after you file. If everything matches, the return processes normally. If something needs verification, the IRS may pause processing. You might receive a letter or an online notice. This doesn't mean audit. It means confirmation. Now let's talk about timing. Under the new rule, verification happens earlier, so delays may occur sooner, not later. That can feel alarming, but it's actually more efficient in the long run. Now let's talk about what to do if your return is delayed. The first step is patience. Many delays resolve themselves once verification is completed. The second step is reading notices carefully. The IRS will tell you what they need. The third step is responding promptly. Delays often stretch out because people don't respond. Now let's pause for a moment. If you're feeling uneasy hearing all this, that's normal. Change creates uncertainty. But this change is about protection, not punishment. Now let's continue because there are still important things to cover. We need to talk about common mistakes seniors are making under the new rule, what not to do if contacted by the IRS, and how to avoid scams pretending to be the IRS. Now let's talk about the most common mistakes seniors are making under this new IRS filing rule, because many of these problems are completely avoidable. One of the biggest mistakes is ignoring IRS letters. Some retirees assume letters are scams. Others assume they can wait. Under this new rule, delays grow longer when letters are ignored. If the IRS asks for verification, they pause processing until they hear back. No response means no progress. Another common mistake is sharing information with the wrong people. Scammers are already using this rule change to trick seniors. They send fake emails, texts, or calls claiming to be the IRS. They say things like, "Your return is frozen. You must verify immediately. Your refund is at risk." The real IRS does not ask for personal information by phone, text, or email. They send official letters. That hasn't changed. So if someone contacts you urgently and asks for personal details, that's a scam. Now let's talk about something else seniors often do without realizing the risk: using outdated software or filing methods. Older software versions may not meet the IRS's new verification standards. That can cause errors even if your information is correct. If you file electronically, make sure the software is updated. Now let's talk about identity protection. The IRS now encourages seniors to take additional steps to protect their tax identity. This includes opting into identity protection tools if offered. This is optional. But for seniors who have been victims of identity theft before, it can prevent future issues. Now let's talk about what not to do if your return is delayed. Don't panic. Don't file again. Don't assume something terrible happened. Delays are part of the new process. Most resolve with simple verification. Now, let's talk about refunds. Some seniors rely on refunds. Under the new rule, refunds may take longer if verification is required. That doesn't mean the refund is gone. It means it's being held until identity checks are complete. Planning for that delay helps reduce stress. Now let's talk about paper filing. Some seniors prefer paper returns. Paper filing is still allowed. But under the new rule, paper returns may take even longer to process. That's not punishment. It's workload. If speed matters, electronic filing is still the better option. Now let's talk about caregivers and family helpers. Many seniors rely on trusted people to help file taxes. That's fine, but make sure the helper uses accurate information and secure methods. If multiple people submit information on your behalf, that can cause flags. One filer per return is best. Now let's talk about another important issue: changes in banking information. If your refund is going to a new account, expect extra review. This is to prevent fraud. It's common. Now let's pause again. Nothing we've talked about means seniors are in trouble. This is about adjustment. Now let's continue, because there is one more major issue we need to address. It's about how this rule affects future filing seasons, and why seniors who understand it now will have a much easier time later. Understanding this rule now makes future tax seasons much easier. That's one of the biggest benefits most people don't realize. Once your information is verified under the new system, future filings often go more smoothly. The IRS isn't trying to recheck everything every year. They're trying to establish confidence that the right person is filing the return. Once that confidence exists, many returns move faster. That's why the first year under a new rule often feels the hardest. After that, things usually settle down. Now let's talk about retirees who file jointly. Joint returns add another layer of review. Both individuals must be properly verified. If one spouse's information doesn't match IRS records perfectly, the entire return can be delayed. This is especially common after name changes, recent marriages, or when one spouse handled taxes in the past and the other didn't. Double-checking both records before filing can prevent delays. Now let's talk about widows and widowers. This group is often hit hardest by filing changes, not because they did anything wrong, but because filing status, income sources, and personal information may all change at once. The IRS expects this, but the system still needs verification. That means widows and widowers should expect closer review in the first year after a spouse passes. This is not an audit. It's confirmation. Knowing this ahead of time can reduce stress during an already emotional period. Now let's talk about retirees who stopped filing for a few years. Some seniors don't file every year if income is low. When they file again after a gap, the IRS may ask for extra verification. This is normal. It doesn't mean a mistake was made. It means the system wants to reestablish identity. Now let's talk about retirees who help adult children or grandchildren financially. If someone else claims you, or if you claim someone else, that relationship must be consistent across returns. Mismatched dependency claims are now flagged more quickly. That's another area where seniors are seeing delays. Now let's address a major fear directly. Some retirees worry this rule means the IRS is watching them more closely than before. That's not what this is. This is about filing accuracy, not surveillance. The IRS already had your information. This rule just changes how they confirm it. Now let's talk about refunds again, because this matters to many seniors. If your refund is delayed, that does not mean it's denied. It means the IRS is verifying before releasing funds. This protects you from fraud. It prevents someone else from stealing your refund. Now let's talk about communication. The IRS communicates primarily by mail. Under this new rule, letters matter more. Reading them carefully saves time. Ignoring them creates delays. Calling the IRS repeatedly usually does not speed things up. Responding correctly does. Now let's slow everything down again. Nothing here is meant to scare you. This rule doesn't punish seniors, it protects them. It just requires more patience and accuracy. Now let's keep going because there's still an important topic left to cover. It's about how this rule intersects with state taxes, banking verification, and direct deposit changes, which is where some seniors experience the most confusion. Now let's talk about how this new IRS filing rule connects with state taxes, because this is where confusion increases for retirees. Federal and state tax systems don't always move together. Even though the IRS made this change, your state tax agency may still follow older procedures. That can create mismatches. For example, your federal return may be delayed for verification while your state return processes faster. Or the opposite. This can make it feel like something went wrong. In reality, the systems just aren't synchronized. That's important to understand before assuming there's a problem. Now let's talk about banking verification. Under this new IRS rule, banking information is reviewed more carefully when refunds are issued. This is especially true if you changed banks, you changed account numbers, you added or removed a joint account holder, or your refund is larger than usual. None of that is illegal. But it does trigger review. The IRS wants to be sure the money goes to the correct person. This protects seniors from stolen refunds. Now let's talk about direct deposit timing. Some retirees expect refunds on a certain date because that's how it worked in the past. Under the new system, that expectation may no longer be accurate. If verification is required, refunds can take longer. This does not mean something is wrong. It means the IRS is holding the payment until checks are complete. Planning for that delay helps avoid stress. Now let's talk about seniors who do not expect a refund. Even if you owe nothing or expect no refund, the new rule still applies. Returns are still reviewed. Information still must match. So accuracy still matters. Now let's talk about one more group affected by this rule. Retirees who file extensions. Filing an extension does not exempt you from verification. It only gives more time to file. When you eventually file, the same checks apply. So using the extra time wisely matters. Now let's talk about record keeping. Under the new rule, having copies of documents is more important. If the IRS asks for verification, having documents ready speeds things up. This includes Social Security statements, prior year returns, identity documents, income forms. Being organized reduces delays. Now let's address another concern directly. Some seniors worry this rule is permanent and will only get worse. The truth is, the IRS adjusts procedures constantly. Some rules tighten, others loosen. This one was implemented quickly due to fraud trends. It may evolve over time, but the core goal will remain protection. Now let's talk about emotional impact. Tax changes often cause anxiety, especially for retirees on fixed incomes. Uncertainty feels threatening. That's understandable. But knowledge replaces fear. Understanding what changed and what did not makes this manageable. Now let's slow down again. This rule does not mean higher taxes automatically audits for seniors, loss of benefits, or penalties for honest mistakes. It means the IRS wants cleaner, safer filings. Now let's keep going, because we still need to talk about how seniors can file with confidence going forward and what habits make this easier every year. Filing with confidence starts with routine. Seniors who build simple habits around tax filing experience far fewer problems under rules like this. One good habit is keeping a single folder for tax documents. It doesn't have to be complicated. Just one place where you keep last year's tax return, Social Security benefit statements, pension or retirement income forms. Any IRS letters having everything together reduces stress when filing time comes. Another good habit is reviewing personal information once a year. Before filing, take a moment to check your name spelling, your Social Security number, your address, your banking information. Catching small errors early prevents delays later. Now let's talk about asking for help. There is nothing wrong with needing help to file taxes. Many seniors assume they should be able to handle it alone. But rules change, systems change. Even professionals ask questions. Using help doesn't mean you're incapable. It means you're being careful. Now let's talk about trusted help. If you use a tax preparer, Choose one you've worked with before, if possible. Consistency helps. The IRS systems recognize patterns. Frequent changes in preparers can increase review. That doesn't mean it's bad. It just means more verification may occur. Now let's talk about free help options. Many communities offer senior tax assistance programs. These programs are familiar with retirement income. They understand Social Security, pensions, and Medicare-related tax issues. Using experienced help reduces mistakes. Now let's talk about timing again. Filing early doesn't always mean faster refunds under the new rule. Accuracy matters more than speed. It's better to file correctly than quickly. Now let's talk about expectations. Under this new IRS filing rule, patience is part of the process. Returns may take longer. Letters may arrive. Verification may be required. None of that means something went wrong. It means the system is doing what it was designed to do. Now let's talk about something important. Peace of mind. Retirement should not be filled with tax anxiety. Understanding the rules gives control back to you. You can't control the IRS systems, but you can control how prepared you are. Now let's take a step back and look at the big picture. This rule didn't come out of nowhere. It's part of a broader effort to protect taxpayers, especially seniors, especially retirees, especially people who are more vulnerable to fraud.